So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
I'm Hayden, otherwise known as Kayzo.
and we're gonna ask him some questions today about his new album, New Breed. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
Yeah, thank you. It's been great. I think that this is my third album now, and obviously, you got all your diehards that are gonna rock with you, and they love all your music. But what I've noticed more about this is definitely the wider net that the album hit. There's a lot of people from different avenues of rock or electronic that I've seen give their kind of insight on the album and enjoyed it for their different reasons, kind of either whatever background they came from musically, it hit that kind of chord, or maybe kind of coming from either the rock or electronic side, but finding things on the polar opposite end of the music. Like if you're a dance fan, finding the rock stuff that you enjoy and so on, and vice versa. So it's been great to kind of see the like I said, the net widen and more people kind of start to either enjoy it or kind of understand it.
Hell yeah. And that's kind of like what drew me to you, like to begin with, was kind of like just the fact that like you're able to mesh all of these genres and kind of like do your own thing. It's super awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
The title most definitely. So my whole brand, everything with Kayzo, I've done a lot of like kind of like dog referencing and Dobermans and like different aesthetics like that have just like kind of lent me to like using, the dog as kind of a face forward kind of part of my brand. And the idea with New Breed and kind of using that that titling that as the title of the album was my goal with this album was to, outside of even who I was working with, was trying to create a new sound or go a bit farther into what I had already done with Unleashed and my first album Overload, the combination of rock and electronic, and kind of trying to blur the line even more and more so with this album. So I was able to kind of have that in mind, but also bring in all this really cool new talent that I've met either on the electronic side or the rock side. And instead of just going for like, big name bands and people I've worked with in the past, I wanted to really dive into people that are kind of forward thinking in their lane and go even a little bit more niche in certain sounds on the album. So that kind of lent to me thinking like, this is the new breed. This is the new style of like what I'm doing. And these are the kind of the new curators and the new creatives that are leading the way in their kind of their specific avenue of what they do. And I kind of wanted to bring them all together and showcase them in different ways.
Hell yeah.
That's really sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And any meaning with the cover art?
The cover art was not as much so like, there isn't like a deeper kind of meaning there. We were just kind of going back and forth with, just different kind of fun things that we could do that tied the brand together. So the cover art isn't as deep as the name this time around. So yeah, more or less just like something kind of I thought was cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah. And then like when it comes to you making a record, like when do you know that it's time to kind of start working on one? Because I know you do a lot of singles as well.
Yeah. That's a good question, actually. Each album is, well, New Breed specifically was a lot like my first album I did, where I didn't go into the album writing. I didn't go into this process where this album didn't like really have a plan going into it. This was more of like, obviously with COVID happening, I had a lot more time to write at home, more time than I think I've ever had in the last 5-6 years, because with touring being gone. So I spent most of my time during COVID just experimenting and writing and working on myself as a person. And through that time, I had compiled a ton of music and really didn't really hit until like, I would say like 5 or 6 songs in of like all my unreleased music, where I was kind of listening back and like, hey, like talking to my manager and our team and being like, I think we have like a cohesive project here. Subconsciously, this sound has started to kind of take form, and I wanted to kind of elaborate on that. So like, it was probably like 5 or 6 songs in where I was like, okay, we have an album here, or we have the beginnings of an album, and let's start to kind of like attack it and approach it from that mindset. And that's exactly how my first album came about too. bunch of music that I was writing, and it just kind of felt like, hey, does this sound like this all kind of fits under the same roof? So yeah, very much. Then my second album was more like, okay, I need to follow up the first album. I want to write a second album. So let's start fresh. Like, let's write an album.
Okay.
But I really had a lot of fun kind of writing from this perspective, because there's no pressure, there's no weight, especially with no shows during COVID. It was just back to the basics of just writing for fun, trying a bunch of different styles out with no intention of playing it out and no intention of people hearing it at first. And I really have a lot of fun writing when that mindset is kind of in mind, versus like, okay, I have to write because A, I need to write an album or an EP, or B, okay, I need to write this style of music because this is what I want to play live, and this is what I got coming up show wise or tour wise. So let's make these style of records for that in mind. Yeah, I just definitely have more fun writing when I have literally no rhyme or reason behind it. So
For sure.
For sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album, and when exactly kind of do the collaborators come into your process?
Yeah, so I guess the writing process, like I said, the whole album started like mostly during COVID. So the writing process was super kind of laid back and lax throughout the beginning stages of it, because no deadlines and really nothing to work towards at that moment. So just kind of writing at my own pace at that point. But obviously, like, the album just came out a few months ago. So I've been writing from 2020 till now, rewriting, revising, writing songs, scrapping songs. So when the idea of the album came into play and when shows came back, obviously there became more of a strategic way of writing, and like, okay, I have to write on, I got a bunch of touring now, so I got to write on these days. So the writing process became a bit more like regimented, I guess. Like, when I had time at home, it was constantly writing on the album versus like writing whenever I wanted at any time of the day. In the collaboration process for me, I have so much fun when I'm collaborating, whether it's different artists or bands in general, like writing from the ground up in the studio together. That's my absolute favorite thing to do. But obviously, like, when I started writing the album during COVID versus when I finished it at the end, a lot of it was written over the internet because no one was traveling. So a lot of it happened over WhatsApp, Zoom, Dropbox files being passed back and forth, which is fine. But after getting kind of like the taste of like being able to just be in a studio and writing with a band for 12 plus hours, and that's so much more fun. That's just so much more organic, and you really get the best out of those sessions. So the writing process varied throughout the entire album. The beginning was obviously a lot more secluded, like me by myself writing over the internet with people. But by the end of it, I was able to get back into the studio with these different vocalists and different band people that I worked with and different artists. So it was really nice to kind of open back up to that like social side of writing and being able to be face to face with people by the end of it.
Hell yeah.
So it was a little bit of, kind of like a journey from start to finish through that.
Definitely. And when you're like writing with these collaborators, are you working on the lyrics with them as well, or are you kind of like handing them a beat, they go off, write the lyrics, and then you guys kind of come together?
No, I've fully engulfed in the writing process. So what we'll normally do is, whether it's specifically speaking, like all being in the room together, it would be a lot of, we all started like an iPhone note together, and we all are all shared on it, and then we're basically like looping the song, and one of us will start writing, and then we'll all kind of chime in on the same note, and we'll all talk to each other and just kind of be writing on our phones, but all on the same note, so we in like real time get to see what changes are being made lyrically to different parts of the song, and then we're able to talk about it and kind of just discuss what we like, what the intention of the lyrics are and the direction we're going. Beginning of the album, it was a much more like, hey, I'm going to send you this song. Like, this is the idea I had in mind for it. This is how I'm like, kind of how I feel about the song, mood wise and lyrically. And then, I would get demos back and we would go back and forth. It would take a little longer like that, but I'm super invested in like that side of things. I wasn't at first at the beginning of my career. It was much more like, hey, I trust you. Like, as long as I kind of like it and feel kind of attached to it and it strikes a chord in me, then I'm cool with it. But over the last like few years, I've been much more involved in like exactly what's being said on this music, because it's important, especially when I hear people, like when I go play shows and they come up to me and talking about this song so much to me, and these lyrics got me through this. Like, it means a lot more knowing that like I was 100% involved in the writing process and the understanding of like what the song means.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Ooh. There's two songs that took super long. I would say the song that took the longest to write, it was probably the song that I did with Dwayne and Cray, Love Me, Hate Me. I think that may be the longest one. So that record started out as just kind of like a demo, pre-COVID drum and bass idea I had started, and I was going to like make a remix out of it from another song and just had that sitting for a while, and then nothing came of it. Just sat and kind of collected dust for I think all of COVID. And then I had been wanting to work on a song with Cheney Craig, my girlfriend, for a long time, and we'd had a couple records in the past that we were like pretty excited about, like we liked, but there was just something in us. We were like, this isn't the one that we want to kind of like showcase as our first song together. So this song came about and we didn't finish this song. The song started pre-COVID, the production did, but it was the last song on the album to be finished, actually, full top to bottom. So that song didn't finish until probably like first week of June, I'd say. Or actually end of May, last weekend of May, because I played it at EDC like 2 days after we made it. But yeah, that song took a super long time. And it was also one of my favorite sessions. If you don't know Dwayne is an incredible.
We love Dwayne.
Oh,
here.
yeah, we love Dwayne.
Awesome. Like, I had so much fun writing with him. Like, probably one of the most fun vocalists I've worked with in a long time. His energy in the studio was just infectious, and again, an incredibly easygoing guy. And we had so much fun writing the song together that it was just a really fun time. And I've always wanted to kind of do a duet kind of style song where it was like kind of like a call and response of like a male vocalist and a female vocalist kind of talking back and forth on a song. Like, so it was really cool that I got to do that with him and Cray. It was awesome.
Hell yeah.
So when did you know that you wanted Dwayne on that track, and like when did he get involved in that process?
So it wasn't until probably like, so I actually knew about, we had this conversation in the studio, which was crazy. I actually had met him like 2000 and I want to say like 2014 before he even started his project through other friends that I was working with, that he was friends with under maybe the same management, or I don't remember who it was, but I met him in the studio and I totally like, you know, enough time goes by, people look different, think you get older and you're like, holy shit. Like, I think we met like 6-7 years ago. But my manager brought up his project to me earlier this year, and I had already known about it, but it wasn't on my radar at the time because I didn't really have anything that I thought fit him, his style. But then we were kind of shopping the idea of having this song happen, because this song wasn't even going to be on the album. And then I kind of like talked myself into it being on the album, because I really, it was one of those songs where it was like, I don't know if this works, but I love it personally, but I don't know how other people are going to feel about it, but I really love it. So I talked myself and like, you know, it's screwed. I'm putting this song out no matter what. This is happening. Cheney wanted to be on it. And then, my manager was like, hey, Dwayne wants to write. Do you have anything for him? I'm like, well, this song I think is like perfect for him. So let's see what happens. And like, let's see if they're down to do like kind of a duet together. And he was, and she was, and it was like such a fun writing day. One of my favorites for sure.
That's awesome.
That's good. And then do you also have a favorite track, or is that also your favorite track?
It's one of my favorites, most definitely. But do I have a favorite track? Oh man. Yeah, I gotta, I don't even, I guess they're favorites for different reasons. I love The Sickness with Ghost Kid. That one I think is one of my favorites because it was one of my favorite music videos I ever did. All the music videos I did for this album, which was only 3 so far, I wrote the treatments and wrote everything about them.
Awesome.
But that was really cool. So that one has a special place. I would say probably that one and Newsflash with Camiata. I really love that one. That one's just like probably one of my favorite like high energy songs that I've ever made. So yeah, I think those two definitely stand out as well.
All right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you write the opening be the opener, closer be a closer, shuffle around, see what fits? What was that process like?
It was a lot of like plug and place for a long time. And I wanted this album to kind of flow like my live sets do.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I didn't want to like get too in depth. Like this song needs to fit in this song because this is lyrically speaking this way. But I wanted the album to feel like more like a live set to me. So I wanted the album to start out extremely high intensity with a lot of energy. And then I wanted to kind of like balance out in the middle and be a little bit more like song driven, like with songs like Bottle of Rain with Poor Stacy. And then have that kind of be a bridge between like the heavier kind of stuff on the album to the more like alternative pop punky stuff at the end of the album. So I wanted it to kind of flow in energy like a set would, but I also wanted it to kind of like stylistically, at least on the rock side, kind of go from this really high energy place to this a bit more like happy go lucky kind of fun side towards the end. So that's kind of the way I went about placing the songs.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Oh, it was everywhere. For like a lot of amazing reasons. I mean, like I said, the album started during COVID and it ended like a few months ago. So my headspace changed so much, obviously, through it because of the uncertainty with like my job throughout the entire beginning process of it, with like touring and not knowing what was going on there. Me and my girlfriend Janie lived in a 1-bedroom apartment together, a loft downtown at the beginning of COVID. I moved in with her because we didn't know what was going on. So a lot of the beginning of the album was written on my headphones on her like island table because I didn't have any of my studio gear in her place. And then it changed, like we got a dog during COVID. So like, honestly, like my entire kind of mood changed once that happened. Like had this other kind of like really good positive energy in the room. So kind of gave me a little bit of like an extra kind of like boost of like hopefulness, like with everything that was going on, which helped me write kind of some of the more like upbeat songs on the album. And then we moved and we bought a house in the middle of writing the album. So my entire mentality changed from being extremely stressed at the beginning to being like extremely happy with having my home and my space towards like the end writing process. So it wasn't that it changed for me like from an artist side. It was more like I had so much going on in my personal life during the writing of the album that subconsciously like started going to therapy just for myself and like just getting in this different type of place and working on myself as Hayden, not as Kayzo, which I think like inadvertently helped me finish this album in a much more like positive manner than when it started with, which was just like, I'm writing to fill time. I'm writing because I have nothing else to do. But deep down, I know like shit is kind of fucked up right now in the world. And I don't know what's going on. Like, but all I know I want to do is write music. But a lot of the more like heavier songs were written at the beginning. I think a lot of angst was coming out because of that. I was just like a lot of negative and positive energy for what it was came out. But towards the end, it was a lot more of like songs like Love Me, Hate Me and like Bottle of Rain. And some of the more like kind of fun, like laid back, cool songs that I really enjoy now were written when kind of like everything started to open up and things started to feel a bit more positive for me in my life and us as just kind of a whole.
Hell yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that at least the ending of your writing process was like more positive.
It wasn't that it wasn't positive at the beginning. I guess that wasn't the right word, but it was just like I loved writing because all I had to do was stay at home and write music and hang out with, my girlfriend and my dog. But it was like you still had that little inkling in the back of your head, like what is going to happen in like now, what's going to happen 6 months from now? Like, am I going to be able to like play shows and like is that still going to be like an avenue of my job in like a year? Like, who knows? So it was just like a lot of living in the moment, but with a little bit of just like uncertainty. So
for sure.
Yeah. And congratulations on the house, by the way. That's a big deal.
It's I'm in the middle of building a studio right now. Literally right now.
Wow.
Yeah. We're building a huge studio in the garage was converted to an art studio before we moved in. So it's a big empty kind of space where now we're going and building studio and a big vocal booth. And I'm going to be able to basically take all my sessions with my bands and like write them in my house.
That's fucking awesome.
Guitars, drums, vocals. And so it's like, that's the next step of just like like I said at the beginning of the interview, like I love writing with people in person. Once you get a taste of like being able to actually work with people in that fashion versus like isolated on the internet over Dropbox and Google Transfer and whatever, and start to really like the human part of writing music comes back, because a lot of it is written, isolated, especially with dance music. You're able to do everything on your own. So sometimes it feels a bit isolating. And that's the one thing I never got. Like I was never in a band or anything like that. So all of my writing from the beginning was just isolated, just me. So when I was able to get in with bands like Atreyu or Papa Roach, and on previous songs, Bad Omens, writing with like 4 or 5 other people in the room was just really exciting to kind of bounce ideas off of and not feel the pressure of like everything has to be done just by me. I'm able to like trust other people and what they do for us to all to come together and write a really good record. So that's what that room is going to be for. It's going to be in a kind of an avenue for people to come and explore that in real time versus just over the internet.
That's so awesome.
God, I'm so excited for you. That's
Thank you.
a massive step.
It's been like my dream since I first started making music, and it's finally happening. So I'm like, I'm very lucky, very excited for it.
Hell yeah.
As you should be.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should I do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
I feel like, oh man, that's tough. Cause like, I'm such a listen to albums in the car type of person. Like I'm such a big, like whenever I'm in the car, I'm listening to music, and I feel like I would say, listen to it from start to finish in the car or working out, something where you have a long period of time where you can get through it. It's like an hour long album. So that's how I feel. I get a lot of people that say like they listen to my music while they work out because it's like super high energy, and it helps them get through those types of situations. So I would say it's definitely one of those things like, hey, like if you're driving to the gym or you're driving somewhere fun, start the album. And then if you have a chance to like listen to it, like from your point A to point B, and you can get through the whole thing, or you go somewhere and you get to listen to it still, like, yeah, definitely listen to it like that. I don't think it needs to be listened to from start to finish, but I think it just kind of depends. You can listen to it backwards to start too. If you're in a better mood, like, and you're in a more like chill mood, you can start from the end and go to the beginning and get kind of get a little bit more aggressive and angsty towards the end. Either way, it's not like, I don't know. I've never been like, oh, it's got to be listened to in this environment at like this temperature of room at full moon or whatever. It's just like, dude, if you listen to it and if you like it, you like it. And
fair enough.
If it resonates with you in any way, then I really appreciate it. Like that means a lot. So
yeah. So you're not like personally pressed on the order that people listen to your album in, like at all?
No.
Really?
I know, not at all. I don't know why. Like I just never, I think it's just because especially this album, I wrote it with like no intention of it becoming an album at first, that like, I didn't start writing the first song to be the first song, it, like I said, the reason the album came together in this order, like the way it flows like this, is kind of like my live sets. So yeah, if you want to listen to it from start to finish, because it feels like one of my live sets, then great. But if you're not in the mood to be overly aggressive and angry or pumped up, then go to the middle or go to the end and rewind it. I mean, either way, it's fine with me as long as you find a piece of it that you enjoy, or if you enjoy the whole thing, that's awesome. Like, yeah, it's not, I never looked into it that deep. I don't look into any of my music that deep to where it's like, it's gotta be, I would never force someone to, hey, you got to listen to it in this way. Like, it's like, I don't do that. I don't listen. Like I will listen to albums from my favorite bands from the beginning to the end if I have time. Or if I go through an album and I see who they've worked with, if I see some collabs that I really enjoy or songs that look interesting to me, I'll start there. Half the time my Spotify is on shuffle anyways, not even realizing. So it's out of order to begin with. And I'm like,
so fucked up.
I had to turn it off because I was like, wait, that's not how this album plays. Right? And my shuffle was on. That's great.
Yeah,
that's
we're both album listeners, so that like pain that pains us.
That hurts my soul just a little bit.
Oh no, I know. But don't worry, shuffle's been off for a while now. It's been
thank God.
No, I'm very much of like I'll listen to it from start to finish if I have time, but like then again, if I don't have as much time, I'm gonna go to something that I'm intrigued by first, and then let it flow from there.
All right. And then also follow-up question, how did you personally listen to this album for the first time? I know you mentioned like in the car. Did you listen to it like on the way home?
Yeah, I mean, like the first, so like obviously before it came out, I listened to it pretty much nonstop. In especially when I figured out the order of the track listing, I started listening to it in that order a few times.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if it ended up, if my idea in my head like actually made sense on paper while like doing something else besides analyzing the music.
Yeah.
So a lot of my A&Ring, I guess, outside of like mixing and the mastering and all the technical sides of the music comes in my car. Cause like I said, like that's where I listen to 95% of my day. Like if it's music is on, it's in the car. Like when I'm at home, I'm either making music or I'm kind of like trying to like turn off my head for a little bit, like by doing something else. So for me, it's either in the car or it's like while I'm traveling. So I listen to it quite a bit in the car. Once I got the track listing done, and then I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for. It feels like one of my live sets, which is what I was intending on it kind of being. So
hell yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
Ooh, God, oh, these ones always get me. 3 words. Let's say spontaneous, because that's spontaneous. God, you really put me on the spot.
That's the point.
I know.
Gotta think fast.
Aggressive.
Okay.
And spontaneous, aggressive, and but what's the word I'm trying to think of?
What is it?
It's like no care. It's like also, I guess it's spontaneous. Because I
carefree,
spontaneous, aggressive, but also light.
Okay.
Light.
Okay. Light. The end is light. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Perfect.
Man. Why was that so much harder than it needed to be?
Because you're on the spot. You gotta think
of
fast.
all the questions you could have told me, I wish I had that one like a week ago.
Emailed it to you.
Yeah, like the three words. I can talk all day, but when that happens, I'm like, that's cool. That's cool.
What is your favorite memory that you made while creating this album?
Oh, honestly, like I would say one of my favorite memories was the session I did with Dwayne and Cheney. That was we wrote it in Malibu at the studio that was right on the edge of the ocean, like overlooked the entire ocean.
Wow.
It was all glass. It was beautiful, and there was dogs in the studio, and it was really lighthearted like that, where it was I had my whole team there. We all hung out all day there, and it didn't feel very serious, but it ended up being like such a productive day, and that had to have been one of my favorite moments. And it was such a good way to kind of like put a cap on the writing process at this like really beautiful part of California with my girlfriend and just animals. And yeah, it was like a nice kind of like tying of the bow on top of the project at the end.
That's so awesome.
Definitely one of my favorite moments. And then we played it out like the next day at EDC. So that was really cool. And I got to bring her on stage for it. And we've never done anything like that because we'd never had a record, and people love that and like really enjoyed seeing us together in that kind of in that form with a song together. And no one knew we had a song together because we had literally made it 2 days before, and I didn't tell anybody until we played it live. So it was this really cool, like full circle moment where we'd been talking about it for so long, but we wanted it to be right. We didn't want it to feel forced. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, the thing.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
Oh, I would probably go with either, if we're going savory, I'm going Cheez-Its.
There you go. Correct
Cheez-Its
choice.
are fire. Or if I'm going sweet, I'm probably going like Trolleys, like the sour worms or something.
Yes. Correct choice. Those are my picks as well.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Yeah. My tour bus rider, like my rider, I've always had like Cheez-Its on them, even though I love them, but then they end up being there all the time. You're like, I don't want any more Cheez-Its, but tour bus for sure. Like that's a great snack on the tour bus.
All right.
So those are definitely it. Yeah.
All right. So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh shit. I would probably go with a huge fucking bowl of like homemade penne vodka pasta.
Ooh.
Nice.
I'm Italian. I make a ton of homemade Italian from scratch, and that's one of my favorites that I make. So it's probably that. And then what was else? With something to drink too? Is that
Yes.
you said?
Mhm.
Ooh, my last drink. Shit. Well, I'd probably go with, if it's my last drink, I like tequila, but I would probably go with a little something more chill. I'm probably going with I've been really stuck on these what are they called? Cans. They're like little THC canned drinks. They're so good. And if I'm in that situation, I'm probably trying to chill. So
Yeah.
we'll go on some like huge weed soda, I think,
Okay.
of some
Yeah.
sort. I'm not trying to get revved up, so I'm trying to chill out.
All right.
Exactly.
Like that.
Mellow.
Just like
Yeah.
mellow me out, knock me out,
Mm-hmm.
knock me right out.
You won't even notice it.
Yeah, put me in a food coma and then let me guzzle a gallon of weed soda, and then I'll just like, yeah, hook me up, man. I'm
All
out.
right.
Exactly.
Let's go.
So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Oh, this is good. I would do fictional world. Like, let's see. I would either do, honestly, I would probably do the world of this show me and my girlfriend are watching. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like basically The Office meets vampires.
Oh,
Oh.
It's probably one of the funniest shows I've watched in a really long time. So I would probably put myself in that situation, and maybe also the world of The Boys. You know the show The Boys?
oh yeah. Yeah.
I
know
just
boys.
binge watched the entire thing, and I thought it was super funny and like super good. And it'd be
Mhm.
kind of fun to just like have superpowers like that,
Oh yeah.
something
Uh-huh.
random.
All right.
Yeah. Those are good picks.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
Specific shade of red.
Ooh, no, just general by the book red. It was always like that as a kid. Yeah, I don't know. I stuck with it.
Fair enough.
Even though I don't wear red. I don't even like own any like red clothing.
Yeah.
I love the color. Yeah.
You're just like looking at it. That's fine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's sentimental. Like, it reminds me of my childhood. So I'm like, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
No need to
Perfect.
switch it up now. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Well, yeah, go check out New Breed on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, everything. It's on everything. Other than that, I got some shows coming up that are really, really fun at the end of this month. I'm playing Bill Graham in San Francisco on August 26th, which is going to be a big, fun one. And then next day I'm doing Denver at the Mission Ballroom on August 27th. And then get ready, because I've got a huge announcement for touring coming in the fall.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
yeah, get ready for that. So I'm excited.
All
for
right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Had to plug a little mystery in there too.
Love
Oh
that.
yeah.
All right. Oh, well, thank you for now. This has been Kayzo, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.